Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the stream. I am Bill, the company's expert, the company's expert, and I'm glad you're all able to join me on this, which is somewhat of an experiment. It's a new time for the stream, so I'm waiting with eager anticipation and bated breath to see if anyone will actually show up for this. Anyway, welcome to Let's Talk Business, where we're going to talk about careers, we're going to talk about the economy, we're going to talk about entrepreneurial type ventures. We're going to talk about taking control of your life and your source of income. That's what we're here to talk about. And if you are between jobs right now, this is also hopefully going to be of some interest to you too, because we're talking about making money, basically. That's what the bottom line is, and having security and being aware of how the world of business works, which relates to us directly, which is understanding the economy, understanding what we should do to prosper. So under that very general heading, we're going to get started. So I see there are 6 people here. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to start with a public announcement, and that is that I received an email earlier today from someone I didn't know who said that my YouTube account had been hacked. And it had not actually been hacked, but I found that once again, there's somebody out there impersonating me. And I'm not sure who this individual is, or if it is indeed an individual. It could be a company. But what they do is they create a YouTube account that has the same name as me, the company's expert, and it also has my picture. So it looks like it's me. And they then go into my comment section and reply to a whole bunch of comments trying to direct somebody to a WhatsApp number or something like this. Anyway, if you've received that, that's not me. That's pretty easy to verify that. Just click on the person, you'll see that they're not me. So this happens to me every couple of weeks, and I eventually find the person and block them. Hopefully, going forward, YouTube will make it easier to detect and counter this kind of impersonation. They used to have a category to report somebody if they were impersonating you, but they've gotten rid of that, so I'm not sure what the deal is. Anyway, that was pointed out to me by a couple of awesome viewers. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much for contacting me and telling me this stuff. I hope that this person or people didn't drive a bunch of people away who think that I was responding to them by sending them to some shady link or WhatsApp number. Anyway, so special thanks to a couple of people, including Amy, who emailed me. So thank you, Amy. Yes, let's get started here. Let's take a look at what's happening in the news. I don't normally do this, but let's do it for the sheer hell of it. This is my LinkedIn news for today. Now I'm in Canada. It talks about Canada lost nearly 31,000 jobs in July. So this is to do with the economy. There's weird things going on with the economy. And some people are freaking out, thinking it's the end of the world. Other people are saying it's business as usual. Everything's fine. So depending on what country you're in, you may have received one or both of those messages. We're going to get into that. In fact, if I can turn this on properly, here is the article. Canada lost 31,000 jobs in July. Listen, as far as I'm aware, a lot of inflation issues and economic issues can be traced back to the whole conflict in Ukraine right now, between Russia and Ukraine. That's creating all kinds of ripples around the world to do with gas prices and other things. And as far as I can tell, a lot of stuff relates back to that. So, my amateur opinion is that it's basically the offshoot of that, and we're seeing the consequences of it. Of all these other things, there's nothing too earth-shattering, I think, in terms of the world of business, basically just the economy. But if you have been seized by the wave of panic and anxiety that has swept people to do with the economy, there is something you can do, and that is you can go and you can get information right from the source. Whatever country you live in, governments publish their economic statistics. And this is made available for everybody to see. And this is a quite useful tool. If you're wanting to relocate to another city or something to find out where the economy is booming, if you want to decide what your career should be, what industry to go into, this is also something very useful. So being able to get this kind of economic information is very useful for a bunch of reasons when making our life decisions. And here is something that I would recommend, if I can pull this up properly here. Now, in Canada, okay, you can go to something called Statistics Canada. I'm going to make this bigger, okay? And this is the official government body that publishes economic data. So this is actually really great for making a whole bunch of personal decisions based on. And you can do that. Now, if you're not in Canada, you're going to have an equivalent. Governments publish this stuff. They want to publish this stuff because they want to encourage investors and foreign companies and things to come and do business in their country. And so in order to facilitate this, they like to publish all their economic data. So very, very useful thing. Now, I happen to know that in Canada, the name of the department of the government is Statistics Canada. However, you can easily do a Google search and find it out for yourself. Just as an example, this is the homepage for Statistics Canada. So if you were in Canada, you'd have something that looks like this. And it has some basic information like the population increase and, a few basic things, unemployment rate. But they have growth, GDP growth. And I wanted to mention this. You see, here's the thing. If the population is growing by, say, 1% per year, okay, there's more people, right? The amount of stuff that your country produces, let's say that goes up by 1%. Okay, so the population is growing by 1%, but we're creating more food, more products, more energy by 1%. Now, is that really growth? No, it isn't. Not in a real sense, right? You have to grow to keep pace with the population. So the thing that really matters is how much your GDP, your gross domestic product, is growing in relation to the population. Okay, if it's growing faster than the population or not. That's kind of the thing that tells you whether you're really growing or you're in a recession. So you can get that information for wherever you live quite simply. Just get on Google and find out. And that's all. I will bore you with that kind of stuff for now. But yes, I always have to say, this live stream is live on my main channel, The Company's Expert. It's archived on my second channel. If you've never heard of my second channel, The Company's Expert 2, go to The Company's Expert 2 right now and subscribe. That's where these end up. And I have some other stuff on there too. So check that out. And I'm going to try and get to questions, but if you absolutely need me to prioritize your question, do a super chat. I will prioritize those. I will answer them to the best of my ability and take the time necessary to do it. Also, a shout out to my patrons and to my channel members. If you want even more of me and you want to help support this and you want to get a free video, a free extra video for me every week, go and join my channel right there. I'm getting better at this because I have to point the opposite direction because the monitor I'm looking at, everything's flipped. So I have gotten a little bit better at that by doing this. So there you go. Yes. So let's talk business. I want to do something that I haven't really done before today, and that is start with sort of business for beginners. Okay, people that have never been to business school, people that have never taken a business course, okay, but you're interested in a couple of things. Maybe you're interested in doing your own entrepreneurial venture, having your own company, having your own business, having something maybe on the side so that you work at your day job and get your main income, but also you have something going on the side. And what this does is it provides you with several things. Number one, it provides you with a little bit extra money coming in every month. Also, it allows you to minimize the risk, because if your entire income is dependent on, say, a day job, okay, what you do as your job, if you lose that job, then you lose your entire source of income. And obviously that's quite risky. You're dependent on that. If you have income coming in from a couple of different sources, you sort of spread the risk around. So if you lose your day job, you get laid off, something like that. I mean, that's not great, but it's not the end of the world, because you still have money coming in through this secondary source, okay? This other revenue stream, as people like to call it these days. So this can be quite a useful thing. And if you've wanted to get into that, that's great. That's a very useful thing. Also, you never know, you could end up going down the path where you take that secondary source and you focus on that, and that becomes your main and only source of income. But the difference is that if it's a business venture, you don't have a sort of ceiling, that there's no sort of barrier. You're not on a fixed income. It means that if this thing you're doing takes off, you can make far more than you would from a normal day job. And that's something that is intriguing to a lot of people in itself. Okay, if you're not particularly into the whole corporate job thing, you're not particularly into getting a day job and being an employee and doing that for the rest of your life, okay, this is something else you might want to consider, simply for the reason that it's an alternative to that. Okay, you don't have to work jobs where you're working for somebody else, you're working by somebody else's rules. You have to report to another person who tells you what to do, and they call the shots. Okay, you get to do things more on your own terms. Okay, I'm not saying you necessarily work less, but you're your own boss, so that might be worth something to a lot of people. And the fact that you're not limited artificially in terms of how much money you can make. How much money you make generally is a function of how valuable you are and what people want to reward you for doing for them. Okay, the more value you generate, the better you get. So that's another reason to do this. So we're going to talk about this. Maybe you're interested in that, but you've never been to business school. We're going to get into that today. Now, over to you guys. Let's see who we have here. We've got Pranay. Pranay's got a question. Hey, so what if I received an offer from a company, but I'm interviewing and waiting for another offer from a different company where I'm really interested to work? What do I do in this situation? Well, I don't think I can tell you what you should do in that situation. That's entirely up to you and your particular wants, wills, and needs, and how much you want the second job, and this kind of thing. On my secondary channel, I have done a video where I talk about you've got one job offer verbally, but you're not as interested in it, but you've got another, or in writing, you've got a job offer. But on the other hand, you've got a verbal job offer. How do you sort of decide? So I know that's not exactly the same situation, but really, I mean, that what you're describing, you're the only one that can decide what you should do. It's a risk, okay? Everything is a risk. You've got to look at option A, you do this. Option B, you do that. Maybe there's option C and D, and assess the risk for each one. That's how you work through these types of decisions. I know that's not very helpful, but it's not really possible for me to give you any more specific advice there. But thank you for asking. Susie says, "Good day, sir. Kindly next time organize a talk about how and when to quit a job." Well, I've done a video on that. I've done a video that goes into that. So on YouTube, do a search that says "The Company's Expert Quit," because I've got a few videos about that. How's it been? It's been good. It's been good. Getting a very early start today. Hopefully you're doing fine. Pranay, when interviewing with multiple companies, is it okay to tell that we are interviewing somewhere else? Look, Pranay, okay, so this live stream, I'm talking about something other than job interviews, okay? I have a live stream on Wednesdays where we talk about job interviews and hiring and that kind of stuff. This stream on Sunday, we're talking about business in general. So I'm trying to get away from talking purely about interviews. These questions about, is it okay to tell that we are, I have a video on that too. So check that out. Okay. I made like a 10-minute video on that question. Okay. So check that out. You've got internet issues today. So, you mean there's a problem with, is there a problem with my stream? Is it like kind of choppy or something? I hope not. I'm accessing the internet through a little pipe, and hopefully it's working okay, but let me know if you're experiencing issues. So let's get into it. Okay. Let's see if I can get this here. Okay. So for those of you that are wondering, everybody loves Wikipedia, right? Like if you want a simple explanation of something, usually don't go to Wikipedia because they'll take 3 pages to explain something that they could have answered in 1 sentence. That's kind of how it usually goes. Chud says the stream is okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. So here's their Wikipedia page on business, and I always am kind of amused by Wikipedia. It's an incredible tool, but it does have its limitations. And this is something that I remember when I was an employee and I was talking to another employee many years ago. It was funny how much people just don't understand what a company is and what it's there to do and what it cares about. For those of you who don't know, company is there to make money. They are really not there to help people by giving them a job. That's kind of a side effect of what they do. If they could make money entirely by themselves, that's what they would do. They would not hire a bunch of extras to help them, okay? Because the extras, the employees, are viewed as a cost. This is the reality. Employees are a cost. If you look at the financial statements of a company and you wonder where are the people, like where do they show up? They show up under costs, okay? That's where they are. Just like, if you look at your personal finances, you'll have money coming in from like a job or something, and then you'll have money going out, like in terms of expenses, right? You'll have maybe rent and food and things like this, right? If you look at that for a company, okay, the employees are under expenses, okay, just like rent or just like food. And you know how you would love to be able to minimize your rent or even get rid of it altogether, right? So you'd have more money to spend on, luxury items or savings or whatever. That's where the employees fall, okay? They fall under costs, under labor cost. And so it's a cost to be minimized. That's how organizations look at this. In the same way that you look at your expenses, necessary evils like having to spend money on food, having to spend money on rent, et cetera, just like you look at that as something that you would rather minimize, okay? A lot of people also pay money for taxes. You look at taxes the same way. You pay legally what you owe, but you would like to find legal ways of not paying more than you have to, right? That's how organizations feel about employees. And that's the situation employees find themselves in. And so a lot of people not realizing this, they kind of find the attitudes of a lot of organizations kind of unexpected. They think that organizations should care more about their welfare and want to help them succeed in their careers and want to help them make more money and things like this, right? And a lot of times we find that that's not really what they want at the end of the day. They're not really interested in that. And this is a surprise to a lot of people. That's because that's where organizations fit. or that's where employees fit within an organization. So, that's kind of the reality of it. So when you look under business, okay, Wikipedia's got this sort of fancy article here, talking about a lot of things, how it's about buying and selling, which it is. I mean, none of this is wrong, but it's not really, in my opinion, the best way to describe this, okay? Business is any activity that really involves money. And in theory, it's about buying and selling, okay? You may not do that directly, but that's essentially what it's about. And then it breaks it out. It breaks it out into all these activities like accounting and finance. Now, the reality, as far as I'm concerned, you want my opinion as a former CEO on this, accounting is a sideshow. It's a necessary evil, but it's not the main focus of a business. A lot of people seem to think it is. Same with finance. I mean, I have a master's degree in finance. It's a sideshow. It's not what business is really about. It's kind of a necessary evil that you have to do. Okay? I don't know why manufacturing is kind of listed as one of the main components of it, but like that's a specific industry. But here you get to one of two main areas of business, really. Marketing, okay? Marketing is kind of where it's at. If you want to understand business, in my opinion, you have to understand marketing. No understanding of business is complete without really knowing marketing. Okay. Now, I'm speaking as somebody that doesn't come from marketing background. That's not my core competency, but I've learned how important it is doing business at all levels for many years. R&D, okay, I don't know why they've listed that as a major activity. Same with safety. I mean, don't get me wrong. These are not trivial. Like safety, for example, I was the head of safety for a company for a few years. So it's very, very important. But when you talk about business, it's not one of the major areas of business. Sales it's kind of related to marketing. Okay. Then they talk about management. That's how to like deal with people and stuff. Once again, it's very important. Not the core area though. And then other sideshows like commercial law and intellectual property, things like this. But they missed out, in my opinion, the second major area of business, which is operations. Operations is doing the thing that you do. So if you are in business building houses for people, operations is knowing the building houses part, right? How to build a house. Okay, what are the steps? Who do you work with? Where do you get approvals to do this? And all the decisions related to building a house. Should you use this kind of wood or that kind of wood? Should we build it out of concrete? Should we build it out of bamboo? What? All of that is operations, okay? Now, if you didn't know anything about operations, you didn't know how to build a house, it would be pretty hard to be in business selling houses, right? Or building houses for people. Okay, you have to be good at the operation side. And then the other side is marketing, right? Being able to sell your services, okay? If you don't have marketing and you don't have operations, you have nothing, okay? The sort of third component is the finances part, okay? A little bit of accounting, a little bit of finance. The money, because you need money to facilitate the operation side. Okay, you have to be able to manage money to a basic degree. But basically, you need to know operations and you need to know marketing. Now, operations, you don't really go to business school necessarily to learn that. If you want to be in business building houses for people, where do you learn to build a house? Well, you don't learn that in business school. Usually, if anything, I think you learn it in trade school, or you just pick it up on your own. Maybe you're in business in an industry that's what you do is simple enough that you don't even really need to have gone to school to learn how to do it. Okay. But you need to know that. That's one half of it. Okay. But to turn it into a business, you then need marketing. Okay. You need to understand that side of it. So here's the moral of the story. Okay. After all this big explanation, it's that if you want to be in business doing something, you want to have a side hustle or something, or you want to start your own company or whatever, you basically need those two things. Operations, you need to know the thing you're selling and you're doing, but you also need marketing. And so I would recommend to a lot of people that, if you want to be in business, you want to have a side hustle, probably the most useful thing you can do is learn marketing. And this is something that's actually not that hard. It really isn't rocket science. You can pick it up from a book. You can buy one book and read it and have sort of a fundamental understanding of it. There are good books and bad books. I'm not saying all books are great, but it's really not that hard. It's basically marketing. Let's actually do this. Let's go to marketing. Where are we here? Okay, so this is, here we go, marketing. And they got their own page on marketing. Okay, so this is marketing. Now, once again, Wikipedia. You gotta love Wikipedia. It's actually a very simple thing, but they've given a giant long explanation talking about everything and nothing at the same time. Basically, marketing is the scientific study of customers or potential customers, right? So if you want to go into business doing a thing, building houses or I don't know, whatever, the obvious question is going to be, who would want to buy my services or my product, right? That's a pretty important question. Who are these people? And then another question would be, well, how can I connect with them? How can I contact them so that they know that I exist and that I offer this service or product? And they know how much to pay for it, and they know how to get in touch with me. They know where to buy it, et cetera, right? Like, how can I connect with these people who would be my customers, right? That also is marketing, okay? So sending messages from you to your audience, right? That's marketing. And then knowing what the message should be. What should I say to these people that will convince them to do business with me, right? So those are kind of the three things that marketing does, okay? It's the scientific study of customers or potential customers, and how I can communicate with them and what to say. So that's marketing. That's I know that was a bit of a mouthful to say that, but I think I didn't have to say quite this much to explain what it was. And they give a bunch of explanations that goes on forever, all kinds of sideshow, all kinds of details that don't really matter to a lot of people who would be business owners. Okay. Let's go over to you guys. I like to try and mix this up. I just don't want to be in my own little world forever. Pranay says, no problem. I do have a business question for you too. So what if we own a small business and also apply for a full-time job? Should we reveal that we also run a small business? Well, once again, you're talking about job interviews, but I will answer your question. The answer is no. My recommendation would be not to reveal that you have anything else on the side. Because if you are an employer and you're looking for an employee to join your team, would you hire the person that looks like they're not really committed to your company? They have their own thing going and that's their priority. Would you hire them? Probably not, because they are at a higher risk of quitting because maybe their own thing that they really want to do, maybe that takes off and they need more time. So they don't want to be encumbered by this job that they also have to do. So if they're going to choose between working at a job for someone else or working for themselves, doing the thing they really want to do that they got to choose to do, they're going to choose their own thing every time, right? So for that reason, if you say that you have a business on the side, for a recruiter or hiring manager, they're going to perceive that as a negative, okay? Even though between you and me, it is a good thing. It shows many, many great qualities in you. You're smart, you have initiative, you understand business, you're a go-getter, you can do customer relations as well as like the operations part, as well as perhaps managing money to at least a minimal degree. These are all great traits. We all know this, but they're not going to see it that way. They're going to see it as a negative, okay? So that's what I would say for that. Chud says, that's actually a really great definition of marketing. Thank you very much. I'm glad you like that. That's basically what it is. In reality, you don't need 3 paragraphs to explain what something is usually, right? If you need to explain something, if you need 3 paragraphs to explain it, either it's extremely complex, like we're talking PhD level, or maybe you just don't know what you're talking about. You should be able to explain things simply in a sentence or 2, max, for most things that aren't like PhD level complexity. Yeah. So that's what marketing is. So, that's why it's super important. Now, the other question that I've gotten from people is like, well, what should I do? It's intimidating. I'd like to do my own thing. I'd like to have a side hustle on the side, bringing money in, maybe something that provides me a bit of security. I've got a couple of revenue streams, but what could I do? Everything is already being done. It's funny because I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. There's a wonderful story. And this comes from around 1890. Okay, so like over 100 years ago. And in 1890, we were on the cusp of the 20th century. Okay, so hopefully, most people are familiar with sort of the 19th century. It was the era of horses and carts. You had a postal service, but you didn't have telephones. You didn't have, automobiles. You didn't have, it was kind of, it's a time that's like alien to us now, right? We can sort of relate to the 20th century. Once the telephone came in, you had electronics, like you had recorded music and radio and things like this. Like we can sort of relate to that, okay? But the 19th century, it's very hard to relate to, right? Now, I could be getting the details of this wrong, but the story is basically the same. I believe it was the person who ran the patent office for the United States. Like, however they have their patent system organized, the senior person that was like running the patent office for the entire United States, they made some kind of statement that has been attributed to them at the time. And they said something like, we might as well close our doors because everything that can be invented has been invented. That was kind of the statement that this person made. I really don't see what good we will do in the future because everything that can be done has been done, right? Now, this has gone down in history as like one of the stupidest things anyone's ever said, because as we know, in the next few years, it was an absolutely revolutionary time, okay? Like, was it 1904 or 1905, they invented the airplane. Einstein came out with a lot of his famous papers. Just everything started to change, right? So how stupid were you to think that like, we've done everything? It's like you wait 10, 15 years and you realize that like, oh my God, we haven't even begun to scratch the surface. Not just in terms of like science, like discovering things, but in terms of engineering, like creating products, creating inventions, and not just inventions that are curiosities, but inventions that change the world. It's like in the 1980s when they went from no internet to the internet, Like that's a huge, huge shift, right? In that period of time, 1890 to like 1910, they didn't just do one of those, like no internet to internet. They did like 10 of those all at once, okay? Like you had the telegraph, you had the telephone, you had automobiles, you had like all kinds of things that came in. They just changed the world forever. Flight, you know? And so the reason why I'm saying this is because it illustrates a fundamental kind of principle of human nature. And that is that, you know, we take a look at things and we think like, you know, we don't have the imagination to really envision much beyond what we see. You know, most of us, you know, we could be very smart, we could be very educated, but we still have a problem looking beyond what we see. We look at what we have now and we go, well, it's pretty much complete. I mean, what more could you add? But the reality, as history has taught us, the reality is that, you know, there's always a ton more stuff that is not being done that we could use right now. But, you know, we're just not thinking of it, right? And usually the first person to think of it and to implement it, they're the ones that really clean up because, you know, all of a sudden you have this thing and people regard it as essential. People can't imagine living without it. Okay. I mean, usually at this point, people refer to very popular things we all are aware of. Things like Google, right? The world before Google, you know, or like the world before YouTube, the world before Amazon, you know, things like this, right? The world before things like Uber and stuff like that. Now, when we think about it, it's a no-brainer. Of course, it's so logical. How could we not see it? But at the time, nobody could think of it. And the ones who could, when they told their idea to other people, most people's reaction was, well, what good will that do? Who would want to use that? Right? That's always the reaction to these things. Now, obviously, I'm talking about revolutionary change, right? That's a very fashionable thing to talk about. Everybody talks about it. But the only reason I'm talking about that is because for every one change like that, there's like literally 1,000 small things, like mundane things. Okay? And I want to bring an example to everyone who's interested. The pandemic and the events of 2020, they have really brought some changes to the world's supply chain. And I'm not a big expert on it. I haven't studied it in great detail. But I do know that it's been quite disruptive. And there's some things going on that I admit I don't understand. For example, one of my hobbies is, and has been for my whole life, is playing music. And there are a lot of manufacturers of different electronics for making music. In particular, I play guitar. And there's a couple of companies that make guitar amplifiers and speakers and things like this. And they're very popular and they sell for a lot of money. And for the last 2 years, I don't know what those companies are doing, but their products are unavailable. You can't get them. Not only are they priced very high, but you just can't find them. They're non-existent. So the conventional wisdom is that these companies, they can't get the components to build these products, so therefore they're not building the products. But that's not true. You can get every single component that they use, say like a speaker cabinet, okay? Like, you know, there are makers of, guitar speaker cabinets and stuff. And I mean, it's a box. It's a box with a speaker in it. It's a really unsophisticated product. And they're not being made. And I don't understand why. But yet every single component to make that product is freely available online. You can order them. And you can order them for a reasonable price. And I mean, you want to talk business opportunity, you know, someone can just say like, look, these are available. Okay, remember what I said, the two parts of business. One is operations, saying like, okay, I need to build a wooden box, right? And it's got plastic corners and wheels and a mesh grill, and it's got a finished vinyl kind of skin that you put on it. All of that is freely available. The exact same products that the manufacturer orders themselves to build these, the speakers themselves in it, like everything. And it's not really that sophisticated to build. You could build this in your garage. And a lot of people do. There's a whole little community of people that like to DIY their own speakers and things like this. Okay. On the other hand, there's marketing, right? So you've got operations down. You're capable of building this in a garage. You got marketing. That's saying that if you go to websites like eBay and Reverb.com, places where people buy and sell guitar equipment, like speakers, you can see that the prices of those items are soaring because the products are just not available new. So, okay, you put the sort of marketing side, market research side down with the operations side. I don't understand why somebody doesn't just build a bunch of these things in their garage, do a good job, sell them for a good price, which the market will hold, and go into business doing that. I mean, that's something anybody could do on the side. All you need is a few tools and you could build it in your house. I mean, and you're not exactly talking about a lot of capital for buying parts and things like in terms of, networking capital. You don't need a lot of money. So you can even get people to prepay, if absolutely necessary. That's how usually things are sold online anyway. When you buy something on Amazon, you prepay, you pay up front, and then they mail you the product, right? So that is just an example. I just came across this 2 hours ago. There's a business opportunity for somebody just waiting to do it. You could start out doing that, and then who knows, maybe if you're into it and maybe you have some talent, maybe you can grow it into your own original line of products. I mean, you can go from there, right? There's all kinds of opportunities out there. Like another one that occurred to me just a couple of hours ago looking at this was, that's in terms of the speaker cabinet. Okay. Now, I'm an electrical engineer by training, for what that's worth. I have an engineering degree, but my passion for many years when I was young was electronics. I used to go and I used to buy electronic components and build little gizmos and things. And here's something that I came across. Guitar amplifiers, just as an example, if anyone's interested. Guitar amplifiers. You want to buy a Marshall amplifier to, maybe like me, you live in the past and you long for the days of guitar rock, right? And, you want to buy a guitar amplifier. Now, these things sell right now. If you look it up online for say a Marshall 2203, some kind of product, it sells for $4,000 US new. Okay. They're almost completely unavailable. You can't get these things. But yet, as far as I can tell, all the products, all the components are freely available to order. The circuit is extremely simple, and you could build one of these things in your garage. I haven't done this myself, but I'm estimating that the parts would cost you certainly no more than $1,000. You could buy all the components. You could build this thing in your garage. You could sell it for, if the originals are selling for $4,000, you could at least sell it for $2,000 or $3,000. That's something that someone should investigate. Or think like this. If you think like an entrepreneur, there's many versions of that. You could either build the final product. Okay, that's one possibility. There may be some issues with that. You'd have to certify it. Maybe you're liable if something goes wrong. Maybe there's an IP issue with the manufacturer. You can't copy it exactly. Maybe, I don't know. Or here's another version. Maybe you don't want to build anything. Instead, what you do is you source all the components from all these different sources, okay? And maybe the schematic diagram and instructions to how to build it yourself. And you sell that as a kit. So you're not selling the product. You're selling the components in a handy kit where you've sourced all the different individual components. You put them all together in one place with the instructions, maybe even the tools, and you sell it as a kit. So that's more of a virtual business. You're handling parts, but you're providing a service. You're making this a lot more convenient, a lot easier, and that's, another component. Okay, I see there's a few comments here. Let's go over to you guys for a second. Are you watching me? No, but I'm seeing your comments. There's a bunch of microphones that I can't seem to find anymore too. Yeah. I'm a microphone enthusiast to do with the recording. I was a product design engineer once. What about Soviet government sanctions? How to get rid of it? I don't know. For guitar goes, trending dependent. It's costly nowadays. Very true. Selling components to build also requires a... Yeah, but I mean, okay, stop thinking in terms of obstacles. Yeah, it's expensive to get $1,000. What if you pre-sold it and got $4,000? Then you'd certainly have $1,000 to spend on parts. I mean, or you could not build it at all, like my second idea, and just, offer it as a kit. I mean, look, think in terms of possibilities, not in terms of obstacles. There's always going to be obstacles. You don't want to be the type of person that they play devil's advocate for everything and they always bring up a negative. Someone says, maybe I should do this, and then you say, that might be hard. Maybe you should just give up and abandon your dreams. It's like, if you have that attitude about everything, you wouldn't do anything. Even getting a job. Well, maybe I should get a job. Well, I don't know. They could reject you. Do you really want that kind of psychological experience? Of course not. What if they lay you off? What if they treat you bad? I don't know about that plan. You got to think in terms of possibilities, okay? And if you keep thinking in terms of possibilities, eventually you'll stumble on something that works, okay? And remember, it's about minimizing risk, okay? Because there's a lot of people that will advise you to just go for it, and I agree with that, but they will advise you to take huge risks, like bet everything on this working. And I strongly disagree with that. Usually the way people succeed is by trying something and then learning from it, and then trying again and learning from that, and trying something. And each iteration, you tweak what you're doing because you're incorporating things you've learned, right? Usually you don't hit a hole in one when you play golf. Usually it takes several tries, right? You can get better at it over time, but usually, betting everything on a hole in one is usually not a good plan. So the thing to do is to be able to stay in the game for the long term. Keep learning, keep trying things. And in order to do that, you can't screw yourself financially on your first attempt, right? Because if you do that, then you can't try again. You've got more immediate concerns. You have to have money coming in. You have to pay rent, etc. So, you usually abandon sort of these high risk extracurricular activities, and you just get yourself a steady job. And a lot of people just end up staying there for their whole lives, right? So when you think of things, one component of it should be you reduce the risk. It should be something that you can do, okay? So in the beginning, like I've said a few times, I recommend that people adopt a model where they get the money up front, okay? You try and sell it first. If it doesn't sell, that's not great, but you haven't really taken a huge risk. You haven't spent all your money buying parts or whatever, right? You haven't incurred huge expenses at that point. Okay? You only incur the costs if you've managed to sell your product or your service. Okay? Once you sell it and you have money coming in the door, then you start spending money on the things you need to make it happen, right? So that's something that I always recommend for people to do. Government sanctions mean jailed for good in my country. I don't know what that's got to do with anything. Barbar. It's like, I'm not talking about anything that should get anyone jailed, and if it does, it's not worth doing. Right? But yeah, a lot of people spend their lives in business, working in business, and usually they work in a small component, that's part of a sideshow. Something deep down in operations. You work in warranty or customer service. Maybe you work in the HR department. Maybe you work in accounting or finance. These are all sideshows. I'm not trivializing people that do them, but when it comes to actually understanding business and how to make money, these are sideshows. Dealing with budgets, it falls under that category of, while important, it really is not the core of what business is. Business is seeing an opportunity and being able to provide value, provide something that somebody would find useful. So it starts with asking yourself, what would be useful for people? In your activity, in your daily life, what is useful to you? What would you like to see? What would make your life easier? That's kind of the beginning of it. And if it's something that you could easily test and easily do, that's then more validation to that thing being something you should pursue. And if it passes those tests, then it's a matter of like, okay, let's see if I can put some communication out there. I'm going to put out a message. Okay, in today's world, you can contact hundreds of thousands of people with your computer or even your phone. Okay, you can go on social networking, you can join groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, other social networking platforms, and it connects you with people that might be interested in this thing that you're doing. And once you're connected with those people, once you could do a post and it will be seen by some of those people, you can then, that's an opportunity for you. You have access to some potential customers. What are you going to say to them? And you then have to come up with a message like, hello, I can do this. I'm selling this. I offer this. If anyone's interested, let me know. You can go on forums where people talk about things. And same thing, it allows you access to potential customers. You're not broadcasting yourself out into the general population. You're broadcasting yourself to a subset of the population, people that are specifically interested or, have potential to be interested in the thing you do. Right? That gives you direct access to these people. So yeah, this is something that a lot of people don't consider, right? And there's sort of two worlds in what you could do. There's what I call the startup side, and then there's the small business side. Startups are, something new and original. Okay, that's like, we always think of tech startups like you're designing a new app, right? It's usually very risky kind of thing. But if it if it works, it tends to pay off big, okay? Or you could do the small business side. The small businesses, you're not really doing anything original. You're just doing more of the same, okay? Like the cliched thing, example everybody uses for that is starting a restaurant, right? I mean, a restaurant is not an original idea. There are a billion restaurants, right, all over the world. There's always new ones starting. Right? You don't have to be an absolute genius to open a restaurant, right? There are manuals on how to do it, step-by-step processes of how to do it. If you want to open a restaurant, it wouldn't take you that much to learn what to do. So it's an established thing, not very original. But there are some advantages. When you open a restaurant, people know what a restaurant does. Okay? It's not like you're creating something totally original that nobody understands. You're doing something when people hear about it, they go, okay, I know exactly what that is. I know exactly why I would need it, and I know exactly why I would pay for it. Right? So there's some advantages. Another common small business thing is like some form of construction. You're a construction contractor. You're an electrician that wires houses. You know? People know what that is. People know why they need it, and they know why they should pay for it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to educate anybody. They just know it from the name of the business or the description, right? So there are advantages to that, right? If you start up a business, I don't know, mowing lawns or something like that, you know, people know what that is. You don't have to explain, you know, why you would need someone to mow your lawn or what you do exactly. Like, people just know. Like, that's the advantage of going into something established, right? And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do it, right? You could start by renting yourself a lawnmower for $10 a day and then going out and making money and selling it. So there are advantages to both models, okay? And usually for people doing a side hustle, they're not looking to, create the next killer app, right? They're looking to do something that's a pretty easy sell. It's not too hard, straightforward. You say, hello, I offer this. I'm in your area, right? And people go, okay, yeah, I need that. Can you come next Thursday, right? That sort of thing. Over to you. So Chud says, one thing I've heard in terms of progress is it doesn't have to be new. It just has to be new to you. Well, that's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but that's not necessarily true. It doesn't have to be new to you. It doesn't have to be anything. The only thing it has to be is useful to someone, either in terms of utility or in terms of entertainment. That's all it has to be. It has to be something that someone would pay for. Why would they pay for it? Because they're getting value out of it. What does that mean? Well, it's either of use to them or it's entertainment. Okay, so when we talk about a service mowing lawns, that's of use to somebody. And everybody listening to this, you have skills. You know how to do certain things. Okay? On the lowest level, you probably know how to do things like paint a house. It's kind of unskilled, right? And I'm not putting people down. I'm just saying you don't need a PhD to learn how to paint a house. But it's something you could do. You're essentially selling your labor, right? Okay? Now, usually people are a lot more capable of just being able to do that kind of thing. You could do much more higher level stuff, right? Okay? Maybe there's things maybe there's things that you can do, right? That would be of value to people. What I'm basically saying is the theme of this live stream today is like, if you tack on knowledge of marketing to the skills you already have, which might be varied and many, you can that probably puts you in a position where you can create a successful, at least, side hustle, where you have a source of income doing this on the side. Number one, it gives you job security. Even if you lose your job, you still got money coming in. Secondly, it gives you more potential, because maybe this thing ends up being so successful that you might actually want to quit your job and do this full time, and you're not limited. There's no ceiling for the amount of money you can make. The more value you provide, the more money you make. It comes down to that. So in my opinion, this is stuff that a lot of people should think about. Maybe you don't act on it right now, but it's something you could act on perhaps a little bit later in life if that's kind of, the way your life goes. Or here's another possibility, okay? Let's say you're someone that has a creative type flair, okay? I mentioned music has been kind of my hobby. Maybe, some people are into art. They're into different types of art. Some people make clothes. Some people do like pure art where they paint pictures and things like this, right? Well, remember, as soon as you sell something, as soon as money is involved, that's business. You're in the world of business, okay? Now, wouldn't it be great if you had some kind of hobby or passion? I used to do electronics. Electronics is, in my opinion, it's a very creative thing. You think up an idea, you create it. To me, it was like creating art. You design the entire thing yourself. You could create things that no one's ever done. YouTube has shown us that there are many people out there creating in all kinds of ways, using all kinds of mediums. Some people are creating using robotics. They're creating all these weird robots and things. It's very original, very artistic, very creative. Anyway, let's say you have some kind of passion or hobby. Okay. There's a creative side to you. Wouldn't it be cool if you could make money with that? So you take your knowledge of operations, art, robotics, whatever. Some people are creative with construction. They can build like a shed or a box, right? But they can do it in a new and exciting, creative, artistic kind of way, right? If you could tack on marketing and perhaps turn that into a money-making venture, okay? Maybe there are interesting people that are interested in that. They would pay for that. Maybe because it's part creative, part artistic, part utilitarian, Like, think about it. Big company builds a product, X, okay? They build a box. What's a box? A container, a cooler, I don't know. Whereas you build a fancy, awesome cooler. It's creative. When these people that would normally be in the market for a cooler, they see your cooler, they go, oh, that's cool. I want that, right? I got to buy a cooler. I might as well get the cool one, right? So this is the thing. There's room there for someone to come in and introduce something that people would pay for, but they're exploiting their passion, their hobby, okay? And they're doing it in a creative way. Wouldn't it be great if you could earn money from doing that? That's a motivation for some people to do side hustles. They're going to do this thing their way. It's something they haven't seen anyone else do, but they think that some people would really like it and pay for it. Okay, so that's sort of one way to come at this. And the great thing about this is that, you could if you understand marketing, you understand other aspects of business, you can go about this in an iterative way. And it's sort of like a fun kind of journey. It can be a fun journey to do it, especially if you're doing this kind of thing anyway. Wouldn't it be great if you could make money doing it? It also strokes your ego because it's something you created. It's something you're passionate about, So that's how some people sort of come to this sort of conclusion, right? They come to it with the sort of creative way. Another way, and I've mentioned this before, I think last was it the last live stream I did, is you don't come to it from a sort of inspired, creative, passionate angle. Instead, it's more of a rebellious kind of angle. It's like you have the strong opinion that, we need this. All these other companies, these big companies, they're providing a solution for this, but it doesn't work very well. It's annoying. It's bland. They don't do a good job. Why can't someone who actually cares about this do it in a proper way? Right? This one is built for the fans. This one is built for people that care about this. It isn't just like they want the bare minimum. They want it done properly. No one is delivering that product or providing that service, right? And, you get so frustrated with the existing solutions, the things that are on the market, the existing products, existing services, that you're like, damn it, I want to do it my way. I want to do it properly. If nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it myself. And you put that out there. And if you've done the marketing right, you connect to a bunch of people that all feel the same way you do. They feel like, God, I'm really tired of this cheap crap from Amazon. I want this thing that actually works. It's actually done properly, And somebody created that. And it's fantastic. Look at two companies spring to mind for me. Okay. I don't know much about each one, but I'm pretty sure I got the basics right. One is Dyson. Okay. They make fancy vacuum cleaners and, circular blowers and things like that. It's like, a lot of companies made vacuum cleaners before Dyson showed up. And vacuum cleaners were relatively cheap. It's like a cheap throwaway thing and it kind of works okay. It doesn't work great. But Dyson came out with this like super vacuum cleaner. It worked really well. And then on top of that, it just looked cool. It was all transparent plastic. You could see the dust sort of swirling inside of it and everything. It was designed to be more ergonomic. And it was kind of like the Apple syndrome, where they take this thing that was kind of always there, this utilitarian thing, and they make it sexy. They make it, shiny. And all of a sudden, people are like passionate about like a vacuum cleaner. And Dyson sells its vacuum cleaners for like way more money than all these other cheap vacuum cleaners. They were like the Cadillac of vacuum cleaners. It was a winning business model. And everybody wanted a Dyson vacuum, and they made tons of money doing it. And they got hailed as like these visionary, people taking the whole vacuum cleaner thing to the next level, right? Like there was that. Another one that I know of, or that I've heard of, is KitchenAid. They make like, mixers and blenders for the kitchen, right? And they came out with this like super expensive mixer. You can make like whipped cream, you pour everything into a bowl, and this thing sort of, it's electric, you turn it on, it whips it up into a, like cream, like a froth. Anyway, they showed it on a couple of TV shows like 20 years ago. And then this cheap little mixer that, everyone kind of had in their kitchen, all of a sudden that wasn't good enough. Here comes the Cadillac of mixers. It sells for hundreds of dollars. And it's this amazing thing. It was a runaway success. Somebody just took a thing that everybody already had, but they improved every aspect of it. They did it in a way that like, I'm not just going to give someone the bare minimum. I'm going to do this well. And I'm going to make it really shiny and cool at the same time. And then I'm going to set the price of like hundreds of dollars, like way more than anybody else is selling their stuff for. But I'm going to clean up. It's a runaway success because there's a lot of people out there that take, cooking really seriously, and they want the best. and they're willing to pay for it. And bam, success. You know? Now, not everyone can design a thing, in their garage or whatever. But it doesn't really take much. It's the concept I'm talking about. You can provide a service. I'm just distracted by this comment I got here. Please don't call the war in Ukraine a conflict. It's a Russian war. Yeah, it is. I just didn't want to get banned by YouTube, which they have been known to do, or at least instantly demonetized. So we'll see if that occurs now. But yeah, I agree. I try to avoid political type stuff. It's just hard to talk about the economy without talking about Ukraine. And I'm not here to take sides. I'm not here to get into that kind of stuff. I'm just here to talk about business. But yeah, so you can come at it from several different ways. These are perhaps the sources of inspiration and the types of things that you can do. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of products out there and a lot of services that are not done well. If you think about the things that you've been frustrated about recently, some company did this and they did a crappy job, or you bought this product and it didn't really work very well. It was a piece of crap. There's so much opportunity out there to improve on stuff. Maybe you hired someone to provide a service. You hired a plumber to fix a leak in your house or your apartment, whatever. And they were annoying to deal with. They charged you way too much money. The communication was terrible. And the service they provided wasn't even that great, right? Well, there you go. There's opportunity for someone, just working out of their garage or their house or their apartment to come in and improve things. This type of opportunity is all around us. That's kind of the key. Someone says, no politics, please. Yeah, I try and steer away from that. It doesn't do any good. Talking about religion or politics or things like that is just not a great. I've learned over the years, it's just something you don't do, because all it does is it divides people. We have a lot in common. I try and not limit, things by going out of your way to talk about that stuff, because chances is that somebody has a different opinion from you if you look deep enough. You know what I'm saying? What I try and do, and what I think a lot of people should do, is just focus on what we agree on, what we all share. That's how you bring people together. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know where this is going. I don't have a script or anything, just so you know. I don't even have an agenda of what to talk about. So, but these are some of the reasons that people might want to think of this stuff. And I think that, there's a lot of people that they just haven't tuned into this. This is never something they've ever thought of. This is never something that, they were introduced to. And if you work as an employee, no employer really has an incentive to get you thinking like this. They really don't, because if you understood the realities, you would realize that in the vast majority of situations, you don't need them. You don't do this stuff through them. You do this stuff on your own. You tap into your own opinions, your own creativity, your own frustration with products or services that don't deliver what you're expecting. And you go out on your own. No other party benefits when you go out on your own. They all want you to serve them, right? So, consequently, a lot of people just don't realize that this is an option for them. And then there's other people that go about this in such a poor way that they take huge financial risks, they screw themselves, and that's even worse, right? Something you don't need to do. Anybody that tells you that you need to spend tons of money to try a business idea, they're wrong. There are certain business ideas that require a lot of money, but you don't have to do those ones, Like I say, solving big problems, like how to refine oil, how to provide transatlantic flights or global flights around the world, fly internationally. That's not something you can do in your garage. If you try and start a company that tries to solve that problem in your garage, you won't be able to raise the money necessary to do it. It just, or like trying to put, a human being on the surface of the moon again, right? That's not something you can do in your garage. So what you do is you pick problems that are not more easily solved, but they're solved with less money being required. And then you read and then you sort of you make a plan based on that. Raphael says, as a beginner, would you recommend the Google certificate program? Love your channel. What is the Google certificate program? Let's find out here, because I need to know. So Google certificate program. Job ready skills you can put to work. Grow with Google. Does anybody actually define this? Okay, so is this something that Google is trying to create? They're trying to create their own sort of educational or accreditation system. Look, I don't necessarily recommend any educational certification. I mean, if you want to get into that, as maybe some people already know, I have my own course, the $100 MBA. That teaches you business. That's my own version of what I think people should know about business. It also covers everything you'd learn in an MBA. Link in description if you're interested in pursuing that. But what I'm saying is, you should learn about, in particular, marketing. Okay, my course teaches you about marketing, but I'm not recommending any particular certificate. The other thing about certificates is half the reason, if not more, for getting any particular educational qualification is to impress somebody, to try and convince them that you know enough to get a job, right? Like that's half the reason you get an educational certificate. The other half, of course, is its intrinsic value. You take the program to learn the skills because you want to learn the skills. You want to have the capability of understanding that stuff and maybe doing it, okay, whatever it is. But the other reason why people pay money, a lot of money sometimes for these things, is because they're trying to impress someone else. It's not enough that I have the skills. I want to be able to convince other people that I have the skills so that they will give me something, usually a job, right? And the reality of a lot of educational programs is that teaching somebody the skills is extremely simple and extremely cheap, okay? Like, think of it. Anything that you can learn out of a book, all they have to do is give you the book, right? And say, read it. That would be like enough. Like, think of taking a degree in mathematics, right? If you want, you can learn mathematics at home. You could buy all the textbooks. You could do all the exercises. You could take all the self-evaluations. You could compare your answer to the given answers, make sure you got everything right. And that would teach you mathematics. And then you would be in a position to go and discover new things in the world of mathematics, like at a PhD level, right? You could just learn it all at home, be entirely self-taught, because this material has been in the public domain for a very long time, like hundreds of years. We've known calculus since Isaac Newton and Leibniz, like hundreds of years ago. It's not like they own the intellectual property for any of this, okay? But the reason you don't do that, instead you go to a university and pay thousands of dollars to get a degree, a lot of times is because you want a piece of paper that's recognized that convinces other people that you know mathematics, right? It's not just for yourself. Now, for most things in this world, you have to persuade other people that you have something. But this is probably one of the very few things where you don't need to persuade anyone, right? If you're going to go into business for yourself, the only thing that you need to have is the knowledge. You don't have to convince anyone that you have the knowledge. This does not require approval from anyone else or any other entity. You do it entirely on your own. And this is the reason you do it, is because you keep all the benefit for yourself. If it succeeds, you succeed. You don't have to share the profits with anyone else if you don't want to. It doesn't rely on anyone else other than you. It's entirely about you, right? So, that's kind of the bottom line. So I don't necessarily recommend like any educational program specifically. Listen, we're all different. There's a lot of different learning styles, and depending where you are in the world, different options, might present themselves. Other options might not be available, So it's conceivable that, different people are going to require different solutions, right? How do you learn marketing? Well, somebody could take a course. Maybe that works. Other people could just rent a book from a library and read it and do it that way, right? As long as you learn the skills that you need to succeed. There are different ways. And when in doubt, I would not go for the option first where you have to spend a lot of money. Okay, And obviously you guys know that I have a little bit of a conflict because I'm also selling a course that teaches you this. If you want to learn it, I recommend my own course. That's why I created it. But, I would start by like getting a book from a library. I mean, what's the cost? If you have the access to that, the cost is like practically nothing. And you learn the information, you learn the knowledge yourself. You're not trying to convince anyone. So you don't need a qualification as far as I'm concerned. What do we have over here? Okay, we mean what? We mean in your version. Oh. Okay. No, sir, everyone has a different mindset. Do you agree? Well, I don't know what you mean by mindset. What I'm saying is that everyone has a different learning style, communication style, and personality. Like, for example, some things like mathematics are universally true. The fundamentals of marketing are universally true. Just like accounting, the principles of accounting are universally true, right? Now, different people have, different characteristics, so you might want to learn it a different way, but I don't want to commit to the fact that everyone has their own version of it, because some things are right or wrong. Like, either you succeed in business or you don't. How much money you bring in, that's not a question of interpretation, The value of an expert teaching and imparting you their knowledge on the subject matter cannot be overstated. Yes, but like I always say, there comes a point when you should stop listening to other people and start learning things for yourself. That means by trying it and doing it yourself, because that's a much more solid foundation for learning than listening to anyone's advice, right? Even mine, like you listen to people like me, possibly to sort of start off, but there comes a point in life where you need to start doing things and getting that firsthand knowledge, right? That's the best kind of learning, right? So when we talk about business, you can read all the articles online, you can listen to all the talking heads, all the influencers, right? Like myself, if I'm an influencer, It always seems grandiose to say that. But, you could use that as inspiration, but then you supplement that by trying things. And all I'm saying is that when you try stuff, do it in a controlled way where you're not taking huge risks, okay? What does it cost to join groups on social networking and make some posts where you put out a message saying, hello, I do this. Anyone's interested, let me know. Or you participate in a discussion of whatever the topic is and say, well, I can offer this service, or I also actually do this on the side. Is anyone interested? Like, what does that cost? That costs very little. It costs your time. It costs your effort. And, you maybe put your emotions on the line. Like, if you put something out there and, no one really, there's no takers, you can feel a little sad. You can feel embarrassed. You can feel, stung by maybe possibly a sense of rejection. So, okay, you risk that, right? But that's how you learn. And not everything is going to be like a total failure. You're going to get little bits of success, and you're going to learn little bits as you go. And let me tell you, after a few years of that, some people succeed a lot sooner than that, but even if it lasts a few years, that's true learning. No one can take that away from you. And it's not based on somebody else's opinion or advice. That's stuff you've learned firsthand. You've seen what doesn't work, and you've seen what works. That's the best kind of learning. And it's very low cost in terms of money. So that's kind of the stuff that I would recommend. Barbar says, but I am habitual of learning at schools. How can I change myself to learning through books? Well, don't you read books in school? Like, traditionally, in my experience, you would have textbooks, right? And in a lot of the lazier education that we have these days, your instructor basically teaches a course out of a book. I've been part of that where they, I went back to teach a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, for a couple of years. And it was weird going back into the educational environment after being out in the private sector for several decades. And my reaction was that everybody's gotten so lazy. They sort of give the instructor a book and say, here, teach this course. And all the material is in this book. It's all arranged by chapters. All the evaluations and assignments are in the book. They're all arranged. Here's the answer key for the instructor. Here's the assignments. Go. And you're basically reading a book to a class full of students. And if they have questions, you just answer questions. And then you're doing all the assignments that are right out of the book. Most of which the answer key is available online, so it makes the thing even more of a joke. Right? I never understood that, why you need to, students can't read a book. They don't have the ability, for whatever reason, to read a book on their own. If you assign them, okay, read chapter 2 by Friday. They don't do that. They're incapable of doing that. I mean, that's the sort of epitome of uselessness, to me. Or it's just a sign that people are so bored and uninspired with the entire thing, with the course, with the material, everything. They can't even be bothered to read the book. So the teacher then just has to make them sit in a class and basically read the chapter to them. And then you pay that person a lot of money to do this. A lot of money that students usually don't have. They have to take out loans to do this. To me, it seems very silly. That's just me. That's been my experience. Somebody's giving me a quote. People give quotes when they don't know themselves, so they just borrow a quote. And as we all know, no quote really sums up anything. It's just like a headline. Fools learn from experience. I prefer to learn from the experience of others. Well, obviously, that's what a book is, or at least an academic textbook is. You're reading the principles that somebody else has learned the hard way at some point and condensed down into some knowledge, right? That's what you're learning. But what I'm saying to you is that anybody can disguise advice, whether good or bad, as a book, right? They disguise it as the advice of others. How do you know it holds up? A lot of people write their own opinions down in a book, make you learn them in a course, and then you walk out of there thinking you know how everything works. In reality, you haven't done anything. You've been given some misinformation that, as far as you're concerned, is untested. Now, it's a little bit different in the social sciences from in the pure sciences. You can't really do this in the pure sciences. I'm talking about social sciences, things like business, okay? Somebody will come up with some ridiculous theory every day. You go on LinkedIn, you look at the posts, and there's some weapons grade idiocy that people are things that are just plainly false that people are like saying in posts. And then you get other people repeating them as if they're true, as if it's knowledge. It's not. So what I'm saying is, like, if you want to know about business, and I'm speaking as a former CEO here, you have to do it, If you don't believe me on this, look how they hire decision makers in companies. They hire people that have done stuff. They look at years of experience. Now, there's a lot of flaws with that, but it's no coincidence that people look at that as a metric, right? Because a lot of people think they know, but there's a few people that have actually done it for years, and there's a lot of people that haven't done it, but think they know how to do it, right? I mean, it takes all kinds. When you're dealing with people, there's exceptions to everything, but a general rule is that if you've done something, you actually know what you're doing. If you haven't done it before, you probably don't know what you're doing. That's the general rule. The reality is that both are important, okay? You need to have some knowledge, but you also need experience. And experience, especially in an area where, it's a social science, that's the best teacher. And don't quote Bismarck to me. Otto von Bismarck. He innovated, and he was known for several things. Unfortunately, the people that were reading the knowledge he left screwed things up in a spectacular fashion, as evidenced by what happened in Europe, a couple of decades later. So, once again, everything's debatable, but that's another way of looking at it. So is posting about yourself on LinkedIn useful? Well, it depends what you say. I mean, if you actually say something useful and valuable or entertaining, yeah, sure. If you say a bunch of things that nobody cares about or is just blatantly false, I mean, is that useful? It depends how you define useful. If you define useful as the response you get, try it and see. It depends what you say. It can be, or it might not be. How to handle when colleagues interfere too much in our daily work, which they don't idea about, and how to make them understand that it is not appreciated, especially during daily status meetings. Well, the proper way to do it is you first communicate this to them. Okay, like, have you actually directly said, like, in a polite way, friendly way, but yet directly said, would it be possible for you to just not do this? Is that okay? When you do this, I feel this. I feel like you're putting pressure on me, or I feel that you're giving me advice when, I feel I don't need advice, or, whatever the issue is. The first step is for you to communicate that. A lot of people, when they're young or when they don't really, when they haven't really sort of gotten a grip of this stuff, they think people will read their minds. If something is not appreciated, if something is not wanted, or you would have them behave a different way, people are not mind readers. If you don't like something, you need to be able to say it. That's the first step. Now, if you've told them directly, and then they ignore you or they disregard that statement, then you do other things, okay? Okay, but that would be the first step, okay? You don't go behind people's backs and complain to the boss before you've told them directly, could you please not do this? Or would it be okay if you could, when I do this, if you could not comment on that, I would appreciate it. Something like that. If they then go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that, I thought I was helping you and I didn't mean it in a negative way. But fair enough, I will stop. I hope you don't take offense. Something like that. And then problem solved. If you have to give them the opportunity first. If you have a problem with somebody, that's the professional way to act. Now, I realize that can be sometimes intimidating. It can be sometimes something you don't want to do. But in order to handle it professionally, you do have to do that. Okay? You have to give the other person the opportunity to do the right thing and end it. Maybe it's a misunderstanding, right? Okay. Now, if that doesn't work, as I say, the next step would be to talk to your collective superior. Okay, your manager, your whoever, and then give them the opportunity to handle it. And hopefully that's where it stops. If it doesn't work there, then maybe there's another point of recourse. You could go to HR and say, look, I have some issues at work, some interpersonal issues with this person, and I did bring up to my boss, but I don't feel that they've handled it to my satisfaction. Something like that. Orion says, I suppose topics like history, geography, English would be easy, but for STEM subjects, it's harder to understand just from books. Well, I've found, listen, I'm sure we're all going to have different experiences. From my experience doing what they refer to today as STEM, like I did science, engineering, mathematics, I was going to become an engineer. My experience was that you had a lot of bad books. They gave you these bad books that really didn't explain very much. They were written by people that, the material is so intuitive for them that they can't get into the mindset of someone who's learning it for the first time. And as a result, the books themselves are just very poorly written. That was a lot of my experiences in engineering. You've got books that are almost like a reference guide. They have the material in there, but you don't really get the material from the perspective of trying to teach it to somebody. It's more of just like, here's the formula if you need it to consult it, kind of thing. So it depends. And there's bad books on this, on a topic, and then there's good books on that same topic. The key is being able to find a good book on it, right? But what I'm saying is that for a lot of things, you can learn it with a good book, okay? That's all I'm saying. Obviously, it helps if you have a good book, not a book full of misinformation or full of inaccuracies, or, that's not really written from the perspective of trying to teach someone it. But you could argue that things like engineering or, that kind of stuff at a university level, you're meant, like that textbook is meant to accompany a course. And so therefore you're going to get the explanations from the professor, and the book is more like just a reference, right? So a lot of times that's how they're written. In my opinion, they should maybe also give books that are written from the perspective of trying to learn it. Yeah, so there we go. So I've gotten to the end of the comments there. So I don't really have anything else that immediately leaps to mind. So barring any questions, I'm going to probably ramp this down. But hopefully that gives people some basic, it's food for thought anyway. I've always been a supporter of two things. People that have an entrepreneurial mentality. Okay, they understand the fundamentals of business. Companies are full of too many people that don't understand that. They don't know what's important. They focus on their little piece, and they're completely oblivious to how the organization as a whole operates. From the perspective of the company, I mean, people like that are of limited value. They might be of value in their particular area, but putting them in charge of like huge chunks of the operation is ill-advised, because you need more of an understanding of how business works to really be able to make decisions towards the top. If you don't understand how business works and you're, an executive manager or somebody that's a big decision maker in the organization, good things won't happen, put it that way. And the thing that drives a lot of businesses is really, at the end of the day, it's about serving your customers, providing something that's of value to your customers. Too many people provide something that's of value to themselves with no understanding of what's actually appreciated by the customers. They just go on the assumption that, if this is good for me, it'll be good for the business. And a lot of times that's not true. So whether you're, interested in having like a side hustle, or being an entrepreneur, or being a small business owner, or you're just interested in having a corporate career, but you want to climb the ladder, you want to rise to the top. This is an essential element, as far as I'm concerned, for being able to make decisions towards the top. If you have no idea what actually generates customers coming back for your product or service, if you have no idea what are the actual factors that, result in that, the decisions you make will usually be bad. And your business will start slipping, and you won't know why. And so people that have done this firsthand, they know they've actually managed to create something of value. And then on top of that, they've managed to sell it to a market. And then they've managed to make money off that. Those are the people that really understand what business is all about. And I don't care if you're running a multinational corporation, or you're doing a startup. You need that information to really put perspective to the decisions you're making in your particular area. So there you go. So I see there's 15 people still here. If you see what I'm saying. There's 15 people still here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. It is flattering that people showed up for this, especially when this isn't the main topic of my main YouTube channel. We talk more about job interviews and getting hired and stuff like that, which once again is an offshoot of this topic, right? The type of people that you hire, that's driven by the business needs. And not in the ways that everybody thinks. Everybody thinks, the business needs people with certain skills. Yeah, it does. But on top of that, what does the business need? Well, it needs people that won't quit. So you can't be too independent-minded. It needs people that can get along with each other and communicate properly with each other. So you can't be a person that might have interpersonal issues with other people. Even if you're a genius, they still don't want someone that, might rock the boat. This is one of those things. So once again, that topic of, hiring decisions, recruitment and selection, and therefore what to say in job interviews and things like this, what to put on your resume. I mean, that also ties in. It's all driven by these same principles. Do you want an employee that's going to come into your company, learn everything you do, and then quit and start their own business in their garage, replicating what you're doing and trying to steal away your customers? No, of course not. Now, if you work in, say, the construction industry or the restaurant industry, that's of prime concern. Because if you work, like doing drywall or something, working in the construction business as a contractor, you've done drywall for 5 years. You know a lot about drywall. You know all the customers. You know the work itself. You know the people that are contacts at your big industrial customers. What's to stop you from saying, okay, I quit my job as a drywaller, and then opening your own business, which basically means putting up an advertisement that says, I'm in business, I do drywall, and cutting out the middleman, as it were, cutting out your boss and your employer, and just going directly to your customer anyway. They hire you just like they were doing before, except you're not going through another company as an employee. You're your own company, and you get to keep all the money. You're not sharing it with some other company. This is of prime concern. If you work as a technician, same thing. You do repair work of equipment, for a company. You're a technician. You could do the repair work outside of that company. If you could get the business yourself, then you'd be charging the same as your company, except this time you're keeping all the money. You're not just hoarding most of it for yourself and giving a little piece to your employee. You're keeping all of it. Right? So it all comes down, in my mind, to the same issues, which is some of these business principles. They govern everything we see in commercial ventures. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome. I'm flattered so much that you'd listen to me just ramble on about this. I wish you all the luck in the world. If you do have questions, let me know. And I'm going to be here again next Sunday for another one of these live streams called Let's Talk Business, where we talk about anything under the sun to do with business and try and get away from the whole job interview thing for a moment. Send in your questions and or topic suggestions, and we will explore those. Thank you so much. I wish you nothing but the best. Take care.